Hello, everyone, and welcome to the long and winding road. This is the podcast looking at the greatest period of in-ring action in the history of professional wrestling, and that would be, at least in my opinion, the All Japan Pro Wrestling of the 1990s. And this is episode 26. And joining me today is a good friend of mine, post wrestling's own ProRes expert, Joshi expert, interviewer extraordinaire, Karen Peterson. Hello, Karen.
WH, you flatter me. You give me far too much credit.
Oh, you do a lot of hard work, and it's paying off. We gotta give you the props there,
Thank you so much.
How are we finding ourselves on this? Just so people know, we're recording this on a Sunday in the afternoon, and in Toronto, it's quite a nice day. It's very comfortable outside. How's Florida treating you?
Florida is hot. It is summer, so I have the air conditioning cranking. I'm afraid to see my utility bill next month. It's probably in the 30s if you guys are on Celsius, but like 90s if you're on the Fahrenheit here in the United States. It is hot and humid, and I'm not having it.
Yeah, like I miss Japan terribly, like living there.
Same.
But I do not miss the summers there.
Also same.
I as people who know, I fucking hate the summer. I hate the heat and humidity. I hated going to G1 finals at Sumo Hall. And I swore, like after the one time, I forget which year it was. I think it was 2016, 2017. The one year I was just like, I almost died because I was up at the rafters. I was actually in the top section of Sumo Hall, and Heat Rising, it was full. It was packed. And I almost died from dehydration. It was so bad.
I probably would have passed out.
And I said to the person I was with, which is Chris Charlton, I said, listen, I'm never coming back here in the summer. Never. And I've kept my word. But when they said they were going to do the G1 finals at Budokan Hall, and I said, okay, as long as the air conditioning is good there, I'll go. And, I get there for the finals with Jojo Remy and Christine. And I'm like, oh my God, this building is amazing because the air conditioner is fantastic. So I had a great time at that G1 finals, but I will never go back to Sumo Hall. Never.
I do love a good air conditioning building, especially in Japan, because, the weather there in the summer is the same as here in Florida. It's stifling, it's humid, it's disgusting. It rains at the drop of a hat. But the problem is that the buildings aren't air conditioned everywhere like they are in Florida. So I actually passed out in class mid-sentence one day while I was teaching from the heat.
It's ridiculous.
I don't miss it at all.
By the way, I've never taught in a public school system, but I had so many friends who were Jets and ALTs and things like that. And let me tell you something. When they were telling me, WH, there's no central heating in public schools. There's no central air conditioning. I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious?
And
thankfully,
there's the concept of cool biz where it has to be a certain temperature before they turn on the air conditioning that they do have, including the teacher's room.
It was worse after 2011 because they were like big on like saving energy because we're going to shut down all the nuclear reactors because of Fukushima and following the Tohoku earthquake in 2011. And I was like, and thank God my jobs, every job I've ever had teaching English in Japan was like not in a public school system. It was like private. It was like eikaiwas, which are like private schools. And nope, let's turn on the air conditioner. Oh, it's too hot in here. I'm going to turn it down a little. And then people say, some of my students say, it's a little cold in here. Oh, okay, I'll turn it up a little. Sorry about that.
Just for you, I'll turn the air conditioning up a little bit.
Just a little bit, but
the worst, man.
Yeah, I did not care about my utility bills when I was living in Japan because I was like, listen, I'll pay it. I will pay money for my comfort. So that's just that's how I am. But we're not here to talk about weather or the state of Japanese public school systems or anything like that. We are here to talk about All Japan Pro Wrestling, but not necessarily in the 90s. Sometimes we will delve out of that kind of that sandbox to go look at other eras and even like some other companies, as I did with the episode I did with Martin Bushby, looking at Misawa versus Kobashi and Pro Wrestling Noah, their last singles match ever against one another. Today we're gonna stay in All Japan Pro Wrestling, but we're gonna look at All Japan Pro Wrestling in the early 2000s. We're gonna look at the year 2005, I believe, as a kind of a caveat to Karen here, because she's not super familiar with the era of the 1990s of All Japan Pro Wrestling. But this particular match, I thought was important because it signaled kind of a shift in era of All Japan from like kind of that kind of down period when Misawa, took everyone and formed Pro Wrestling Noah, and it was just like pretty much just Kawada left in the company. And then, there's a resurgence because the arrival of Keiji Muto to become pretty much the president of All Japan Pro Wrestling, following a sale from Mrs. Baba, who was the majority shareholder. She sold the company to Muto. But, not just Muto came over from New Japan Pro Wrestling at the time. It was also Kendo Kashin. It was also Kaz Hayashi from the then dead WCW. He had come back to Japan. He had signed up with Muto, and he was going to be in charge of the junior division of All Japan Pro Wrestling. But also, most importantly, Keiji Muto brought with him Satoshi Kojima from New Japan Pro Wrestling. And the reason he was able to do this, because Kojima saw the writing on the wall with like the philosophy of Nokiaism, Karen. I'm sure you're probably familiar with this concept of
very loosely, yes,
sacrificing all your trained professional wrestlers and top liners to MMA fighters. So because they know how to handle themselves in a real fight. So of course they have to be on top of the pro wrestling world. No, that's not
correct.
and this nearly crippled the company financially. And because none of the fans wanted to see this shit. None of them. Anyways, neither did Kojima. So he was like, "Oh, they're gonna screw over Tenzan. They're gonna screw over Nakanishi. They're gonna screw over Nagata. They totally screwed over Nagata. They're gonna sacrifice him to people like Kazuki Fujita. This sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Sure does.
And some other people, So he saw the writing on the wall. Muto said, "I'm going there. Do you want to come?" And Kojima was like, "Yep, I'm gonna come." Because I think he also knew like. In a sense, like he had the opportunity to help rebuild a company that was struggling. I would say in the 2005s, it was like New Japan was kind of dwindling. The top company in Japan was Pro Wrestling Noah at the time, and but All Japan was really like third. And I think the arrival of Muto and Kojima really helped bring in more fans to the product and kind of added some stability to the roster as well. So we'll talk about this. We're going to talk about the fabled title match between Satoshi Kojima challenging the then Triple Crown champion Toshiaki Kawada, the last of the four pillars to remain in Pro Wrestling Noah. In All Japan Pro Wrestling, sorry. And it's an important match because also not just because of the spoiler alert, Kojima's ascension to the top to become the ace of the company, as he wins Triple Crown from Kawada in this match, but also because it is the last time Kawada would hold the Triple Crown. This is his last reign. It's a historic reign. He has a record 10 defenses that has yet to be surpassed in to this day, Karen.
Really?
Yes, only one person has matched it, and that's Kento Miyahara. He has 10 defenses. I think the goal for Kento is to get that fabled 11th defense.
The elusive 11th?
Successful defense,
consecutively, correct?
Consecutive. He's probably beaten even. I would assume Miyahara maybe has beaten Misawa in terms of like overall defenses of the Triple Crown.
Got it.
But he has not broken Kawada's record, which I'm kind of glad of. Like, as much as I like Kento Miyahara, I kind of like the fact that as a reward for his loyalty to the All Japan brand, that he is kind of like has this like momentous title reign that has yet to be. It's been matched, but it hasn't been surpassed yet. So, and if anyone's gonna have the tie with the record of defenses, I don't think there's anyone better than Kento Miyahara. But yeah, so this is his Kawada's kind of swan song with the Triple Crown. And it's quite an interesting title reign. I'm going to go over it really quickly here with you. So Kawada wins a Triple Crown in a tournament final on September 6, 2003. He beats Shinjiro Otani, then of 01 Pro Wrestling, in a tournament final to become the Triple Crown champion at Budokan Hall. Kawada has his first defense of the title, defeating Don Fry on October 26th of 2003. And then we move into the bulk of his defenses, which happens in the year 2004. January 18th, he defeats his mentor, Junichiro Tenryu. February 22nd, he defeats Shinya Hashimoto. May 8th, he defeats Mick Foley on a Hustle show. Are you familiar with the promotion Hustle in the 2000s, Karen?
When I lived in Japan, it was 2003 to 2008, and I had seen all the different wrestling posters, but I didn't know what one was, and some of them looked more like MMA than actual wrestling, so I just stayed away from all of it because I didn't know where to get started. But Hustle, isn't that where Shuri also got her start?
I'm not sure actually. It's the promotion that was like, imagine imagine all the elements of, like, for example, pro wrestling DDT that I hate, which is all the comedy and show businessy and like let's fucking make fun of wrestling.
So that's what like Hustle is. Gimmick match wrestling.
Stupid wrestling.
Stupid wrestling.
Yes, it's what I call it.
Its own classification on the WH scale is stupid wrestling.
A lot of people whose opinions I respect loved Hustle, and cool. Hey, whatever you like, it's all cool. Like, I didn't like it. It's not the kind of wrestling I want to see.
Yeah.
So, anyways, they brought in Mick Foley, and also Kawada did do dates for Hustle as a comedy character. He even sang. He's actually very beautiful voice. Toshiaki Kawada, believe it or not. But he defends the Triple Crown on a Hustle show on May 8th and defeats one Mick Foley. It's kind of a weird story how that happened. But anyways, on June 12th, he defeats Jamal, a.k.a. WWE's Umaga. Rest in peace. Great big man wrestler in All Japan.
I thought that name sounded familiar. Okay.
Yeah, he's great. I kind of wish he stayed in Japan, to be quite honest with you. Fantastic. Loved his tag team with Taiokeya. Check that stuff out. Great tag team. July 18th, he takes on and defeats Takao Omori. September 3rd, defeats Osamu Nishimura. October 31st, he defeats Taiokeya. December 5th, he defeats a person we will talk about during this match, Hiroyoshi Tenzan. And then moving into 2005, he defeats Kensuke Sasaki on January 16th. And then February 16th, this brings us to his match with Satoshi Kojima, in which he loses the title to Kojima. And this is his 10 successful defenses. And the only time it's been matched is by Kento Miyahara during Kento's 2018 to 2020 title reign. So there you go. That's the kind of the background of Kawada coming into this match. He's on a roll. He's like, he's the top guy in All Japan. He's the ace. And this is the mountain that, Kojima has to not only climb, he has to also topple, Kawada off this mountain to become the top man of the company. So, and it's just, it's also like, Muto wasn't going to be the top guy in the company. He knew that. If only he knew that, the last 2 years in Pro Wrestling Noah. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, so we're going to see, Kojima ascend to the top. And we'll talk about subsequent achievements Kojima achieved, after winning the Triple Crown from Kawada in this match. But let's delve into a bit about Satoshi Kojima and his coming into All Japan. So like I said before, he left New Japan in January of 2002, along with Keiji Muto, and they were joined by Kendo Kashin and Kaz Hayashi, primarily to form this new version of All Japan Pro Wrestling. He immediately, when I heard this news, Karen, me and everyone else in what they call the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community.
Oh, the IWC, you say?
That's right. The message board people, either whether it's on where did I primarily go? I was primarily on the Wrestling Observer F4W boards, or the Death Valley Driver Review boards, which was pretty much where I pretty much did most of my posting and or reading. But like a lot of us in the IWC thought, oh my God, okay, Kojima's the man. He's gonna be the guy that's gonna be groomed to take over the top spot in the company, be the Triple Crown champion, be the guy, the big draw for this company. And and we were right eventually. 3 years later, we were right. Up to the point of this match in 2005, he had won the World Tag Team title twice, once with Taiokeya and once with Kaz Hayashi. In a very interesting open weight tag team, because Kaz Hayashi is a junior heavyweight and Kojima's a heavyweight. But they had a really fun open weight tag team that won the World Tag Team titles in All Japan. But also, this team of Hayashi and Kojima also won the All Asia Tag titles, but under the guises of the great Kosuke, which is Kojima's take on the great Sasuke, and the great Shiryu, and so great Kosuke team with Shiryu, which is Kaz Hayashi's Michinoku Pro gimmick.
Okay.
His mask gimmick. So they're both masked wrestlers.
Got it.
Doing kind of this, winning the All Asia Tag titles in All Japan with their gimmicks here. His other gimmick, Kojima's other gimmick, was the Great Koji, which is a take on the Great Muta.
You're gonna have to help me find a Great Koji match, because now I'm fascinated.
You might be able to find it maybe on YouTube or Daily Motion or somewhere else.
The Billy Billy.
It was or Billy. Hey, gotta love the Chinese YouTube there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't recall it being that good. Like very few Muta ripoffs are good. To me, Great Koji. Who else is Sonata did one? Not a big fan of that one either. Tajiri's whole gimmick, basically in ECW and then back to Japan, is being a Muto ripoff in a lot of sense, his character. But yeah, there you go. One thing I want to point out that earlier, before this match, in 2004, on July 18th, he lost what many consider a dream match on an All Japan card against Mitsuharu Misawa. And then he also went to a time limit draw against his former partner Hiroyoshi Tenzan on the December 11th New Japan card in Osaka. So he wasn't really setting the world fire with these kind of high profile matches necessarily, in terms of getting decisive wins over anyone. So it's kind of okay, can he defeat Kawada on in this really massive opportunity? And yeah, we will talk about that match. Of course he does, but we'll talk about the match itself coming up. But do you have any thoughts about either Kawada or Kojima heading into this, based on any research you might have done?
Well, I watched the video that you had sent me, and I didn't know if this would be the time for us to go over the timeline, because I remember before you even asked me to do the show, I was sitting in a car dealership getting my car work done. And you're like, you need to watch this movie or this video, because it was before Kojima was defending against Keno for the third belt in the series that makes him officially a Grand Slam champion in all of Japan. So full disclosure, I hadn't watched a single classic Old Japan match until you sent me this one. And I loved it. And the intro that the gentleman that narrates the video, he gives a great timeline and breaks down a couple of key points in the history, and you've covered most of them. I did also like the quote that he used from the Misawa match, I guess because Misawa specifically beat him with a Tiger Driver 91 and not the Emerald Flosion. And Koji was backstage saying, I don't remember much of the match, from a move by move standpoint, but he remembers how he felt both emotionally and physically afterwards, that he was very moved by the situation. And that soundbite was the one that apparently sent Kawada spiraling, being like, you lost. How are you saying that losing is a good thing when you've had all these opportunities, especially after the 2003 year on fire he had with winning the Champions Carnival and then being able to, challenge Hashimoto, but still losing, but then, turning it around and like winning the tag league and stuff like that and working his way through these high profile matches.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Tiger Driver NE1, Karen?
No, but I think I need to see one now.
Do you know what the Tiger Driver is?
I do know what a Tiger Driver is.
So,
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the Tiger Driver 90, the regular Tiger Driver, for people who don't know, is like, you get this double underhook, you lift it up into kind of almost like a power slam, but you drop your opponent on their back, flat on their back. The Tiger Driver 91 rotates to the point where you like not fully to expose the back, but it rotates enough to expose the head to the mat, and you drop a person on their head. Basically.
I see. So it's kind of like a brain buster with a different arm positioning.
It's kind of like almost like
pile driver.
Near death. It's one of the most dangerous moves I've ever seen in my life. Like the first person to ever take it was Akira Taue, and I was like, I don't know how Misawa ever convinced him to take that move.
Oh gosh, I feel like I'm gonna be if I look it up, I'm gonna be like watching it like this.
You might be, yeah. It's a pretty gnarly move. I love it because it looks so like, wow, how did anyone survive? Like, how did Taue, Kawada, Kobashi, everyone else has ever taken this move? But you mentioned a move called the Emerald Flosion. And that's kind of like a different like super finisher that Misawa developed when he was in Pro Wrestling Noah to kind of like, I don't think he was like confident that he could do the Tiger Driver NE1 safely anymore as his physical state deteriorated during his time in Pro Wrestling Noah, because it does take a lot of control to be able to hit that, to be able to rotate somebody and hit that move safely. So he developed the Emerald Flosion, which is kind of a move that Kojima copies into what he calls the CCD, which what is it? The Cozy Crush Dynamite is the name of that move, right?
You're asking the wrong person.
So
I'm very bad at remembering these overly complicated Japanese English titles for names for moves.
So we're going to talk about the CCD because I do believe Kojima busts this move out against Kawada.
Yes.
Right? He does use it, and it's very similar to the Mitsuharu Misawa's Emerald Flosion finisher. So there you go with that. But any other notes then before we get started and talk about the match, Karen?
You mentioned that he had the high profile losses to Shinya Hashimoto, and then the non-title match with Kawada. He had the loss against Keiji Muto. And then after that loss, the outline said that he had a 7-match series that he just swept all 7 people. And of the names, the only one I'm really familiar, there's maybe 2 or 3 that I'm familiar with. There was Nobutaka Araya, Ryuji Hijikata, Akira, Nosawa. Is the Nosawa they're talking about? That's the same Nosawa?
That is the same.
It's the same Nosawa. Okay, so that one I know.
So.
Jamal was Umaga, and I was like, I had heard the name Jamal, and I was like, I know that name somewhere, but you put the pieces together for me on that one. And the I think it was the first in the series is that he defeated Tomoaki Honma in the 7-match series. And then after that, it was
So all these guys basically are like New Japan undercard dudes.
Yeah.
That he 7-match series. It's basically, imagine like John Cena went on a losing streak against and lost to like Roman Reigns and like, I don't know, Randy
Seth Rollins and
then he decided, I'm gonna have a 7-match series to get me back on track. And then he faced like, I don't know, fucking Elijah, fucking whatever fucking name he's using, fucking Maximum Male Models. That's what basically Kojima did. He just beat a bunch of jobbers, to be honest with you, so including Honma. Honma's a fucking jobber at this point too.
Back in 2004.
Yes, they're all jobbers. Nosawa's still a jobber in my eyes, even now. But he was even more of a, because they're all like, most of these guys are also juniors as well. Okay. So like compared to Kojima, they're nothing. So
yeah, got it. One of the things was that after his series of high profile losses, Kawada was basically was getting on Koji's case about, having this on fire 2003 and then dropping down a bit in 2004 by having this losing streak and then trying to rebuild himself up with this series of 7. But he's just like, your spicy catchphrase, Ichauzo Bakaro, that doesn't win matches. Being, good on the mic or having a catchy, a catch copy that everyone loves, that's not going to get you anywhere. You actually need to win matches in order for that to happen, which I thought it's a good point. But I am happy that Koji has stuck with the phrase Ichazo Bakaru as long as he has.
It's interesting. We'll talk about this. This comment from Kawada actually plays into.
I'm sure. I'm sure it does.
It does, yeah. For people who don't know, like Ichazo Bakayaro is what he yells when he throws a guy into the turnbuckle. He follows up with an elbow, and then he yells it, and all the fans yell it with him. And then Kojima scales the top rope and then drops an elbow. Basically, like it's very hard to kind of like, I understand the meaning. It's hard to like literally translate it, but basically he's saying, "Let's go, idiot."
Yeah.
To his opponent. I don't think he's calling the fans idiots. So
no. He's calling his opponent. It's kind of like, how like the big gamers these days are just like, "Let's go." So it's kind of like, I'm gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
I mean, on some other commentaries I've heard, they've translated stupid or idiot as M or F-er, whatever floats your boat. However angry, I guess it all depends on how angry Kojima is, but I don't think he's the kind that would use the MFer term. So it's more of the you dipshit, you dummy, you stooge. Right.
Listen, if I ever call you a Bakayaro, people listening, I'm probably calling you a motherfucker. So, Kojima, not so much. Me, probably, yes. So
me, there's a 50-50 chance. It's either lovingly or aggressively. It all depends on which day you catch me.
Well, hopefully not on a bad day,
Definitely not on a bad day.
Calling you a Bakayaro. But yeah, I just like this. I like the shorter form of that word, baka.
Yes.
Baka des. There you go. Anyways, any final notes there then, Karen, for the background?
From the background, let's see. There was a phrase that was mentioned in the intro as well, called Kawada Koe, which means it was Kawada's name, and Koe means koeru, is the verb to overcome or supersede. So in this case, for Kojima, Kawada's the mountain that he has to scale. He's the one that he wants to be the one to topple Kawada, and if he does, one, stop the streak, but also hearken a new era in All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Which is, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but it's exactly.
Am I getting ahead? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No. I'm getting ahead of myself because that's exactly what he ends up actually doing. So
yes, it was a very poetic way of saying it.
It's almost like all this wrestling stuff is pre-planned. Everyone knows their finishes.
How dare you?
They get into the matches and stuff like that. Okay.
All right. Long-term storytelling, the audacity.
I mean, there's a lot of it in this match, apparently. So
yes, there is. And in the backstage comments.
In backstage, we'll get to we won't get ahead of ourselves because Karen was kind enough to translate a lot of the backstage stuff.
I speed ran the translation. Let's be honest.
Well, that's fine. It's better than me, so don't worry about it. Okay, so let's talk about this match. First of all, I do want to mention that Hiroyoshi Tensai, the current IWGP Heavyweight Champion, is in attendance for this match. He comes out. To the I suppose the surprise of the fans in attendance here in where was this show again? This was in...
You're gonna make me say it. It's Ryogoku Kokugikan, the Sumo Hall.
No, this is actually in Yoyogi National Gym.
Oh,
which is
why do I have Ryogoku? That's probably where him and Tenzan had their match afterwards. It is Yoyogi Stadium, Second Gymnasium. My apologies.
Yes, have you ever been there?
I have been to neither.
I've been to both. So Yoyogi is actually a really cool place to go watch wrestling because of the kind of the design of like the seating is like it's kind of like a cone. The rings in the middle of the cone on the bottom, and then the seats go up.
They go up this way, or up
it's kind of like Oda Ward Gymnasium.
Okay,
it's kind of like that, except more like circular, like the design. It's a really cool place. Like usually they would hold the best of the Super Junior finals there before they moved it to Sumo Hall. It's a really cool place to go to. But so this show is called AJPW Realize. It's from Yoyogi National Gym number 2. The attendance is listed as 6,000 people.
Wow.
Whether that's a work or not, I mean, it sounds pretty full. It sounds pretty full to me. So I'll give them
the arena looked and sounded really full during the match.
So I'm gonna give them that it's probably accurate.
The benefit of the doubt.
It's a big match. Also, like, I'm gonna go over there. Have you seen what the card was, Karen, for the show?
No, I haven't looked at the full
All right.
card from that match.
So
Can you run it down for me?
Yeah, I am gonna run it down for you. Just so people know, it was broadcast as a pay-per-view on Sky Perfect TV, and just so you know, pay-per-view is not that big of a deal, even, especially back then.
Yeah,
like most hosts do not have the ability to do pay-per-view in Japan. But let's take a look at this card. To start off, singles match, Nosawa Rangai defeats his regular tag team partner Masada in 6 minutes 21 seconds. There's a 6-man tag team match. The Love Machines, Love Machine Storm, Makai Love Machine number 2, and Mini Love Machine number 2. I don't know who any of these people were. Maybe at the time I was like, oh, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so, whatever. They defeated Akira Raijin, Taichi Ishikari, not Taichi.
Baby Taichi Ishikari. Taichi Ishikari.
Taichi Ishikari, still like Kawada's disciple in All Japan, still junior heavyweight. Hasn't discovered his lip syncing yet and his horrible fashion sense. And also the third member of this 6-man tag team on that side is Tomoaki Hanma. But the Love Machines win in 6 minutes and 44 seconds. There's a tag team match. Akira, also formerly of New Japan Pro Wrestling, good friend of Keiji Muto, so he jumped over to All Japan. Akira and Toshizo defeat Katsuhiko Nakajima and Kaz Hayashi. What a tag team that is as well.
Oh my gosh. All the little youngins, all the little buddies.
That's right. 3-on-2 handicap match. ROND, which stands for Roughly Obsess and Destroy, which is the faction created by Taka Michinoku, basically of all ex-WWE guys.
Oh, okay.
That he would manage. But Jamal and Taiokeya, they were representing ROND here. They were like probably the preeminent tag team in All Japan at this time. They defeat the trio of Masanobu Fuchi, Nobukazu Hirai, and Nobutaka Araya, all jobbers at this point. Masanobu Fuchi is, like he's in his, I don't know, I can't remember, 50s at this point. So he's just there to do the comedy. Anyways, 6-man tag team match, Voodoo Murders, the inferior, nearly all foreigner faction, consisting of, you're gonna love these names, Karen. Chuck Palumbo, Johnny Stamboli, aka Johnny the Bull from WCW.
Got it.
And their leader, Taru. And they defeated the ROND contingent of Bull Buchanan, Rico Constantino, and Taka Michinoku.
These are some deep cuts, man.
Yeah, like basically, if you left the WWE in the early 2000s, you basically went to All Japan Pro Wrestling or New Japan. But a lot of them went to All Japan Pro Wrestling.
And is that because of Taka Michinoku's connection with the company?
Yes, and Muto. Muto loved bringing in big foreign dudes from America. So Kohei Sawama, basically when he still got his first name here, he's in match number 3 of his 7-match trial series, and he took on Kensuke Sasaki, but he lost to Kensuke in 7 minutes and 31 seconds. And here you go. Here's a semi-main event, Karen. It's Keiji Muto taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi in the semi-main event. But guess who wins? That's right, Keiji Muto.
Of course.
But, he defeats him in 18 minutes and 49 seconds. So, and I think this is before Tanahashi, for his first IWGP title win.
I think so, yeah, because this is 2004, right? Or 2005? 2005, yeah, no.
So he has the whole debacle with, like, who is it? Lesnar?
Yeah.
The whole debacle with Brock Lesnar hasn't happened.
No.
He doesn't defeat Giant Bernard in that tournament final thing. Anyways, yeah, Keiji Muto defeats Hiroshi Tanahashi in 18 minutes, 49 seconds. That's our semi-main event. And of course, our main event is Kojima versus Kawada. And the link for this match, this is actually, it's really nice. This match is hosted. It's an official video of this match hosted by Gara, which is like the broadcaster of All Japan at this time. So they have pretty much the rights to all this footage. So this is on Gara's YouTube channel. We'll have a link in the description, of course. But the unfortunate thing, Karen, is that because it's an official video, we don't have Satoshi Kojima's theme music nor do we have Toshiaki Kawada's music during their entrances. They're kind of dubbed over with this kind of really generic music, unfortunately, which is just a shame because I love both songs. So, but there you go. It's what we paid to keep things on the up and up here on the YouTube.
That's fair.
And on Post Wrestling. So there you go.
Of course.
But hey, like if you're like me, you probably and I have a copy of this match somewhere on DVD, which would be the pay-per-view version, has all the songs. I should maybe dig it out somewhere if I can.
I'll need to chase that up.
Yeah, I'll put it up on the what JP Houlihan would call the hooky link. So people, so you'll get one
bless him.
Maybe I'll just rip the whole show and just put a hooky link out there for people who I like, including yourself, Karen.
Woohoo! Yay!
I have to find it first. But anyways, I want to talk about, before we get to the match, let's talk about who's in people's corners. Kojima's corner, Honma and Kaz Hayashi. And in Kawada's corner are Taichi, because he's basically Taichi's mentor at this point. And of course, like in nowadays, like his moveset is just full of All Japan tributes. The Axe Bombers from Takao Mori. Most of his moves are a tribute to Toshiaki Kawada, including his nickname Black Mephisto is a name that, or the move name, the Black Mephisto, is taken from Toshiaki Kawada's gimmick from when he was in Calgary in the 80s.
Wow.
So, and Nobutaka Araya, a very sad man who was never a very good pro wrestler, and despite trying really hard and getting beaten up by Kawada and Tenru before him, never happened for this fella, which is a shame. But anyways, we have a title proclamation. I love these things. I love when they read, this is the title match. And the person reading it is reading the title proclamation that has been signed by the Pacific Wrestling Federation champion, which is the governing body of All Japan Pro Wrestling, and that would be Stan Hansen, the legendary figure. As Stan Hansen would take over that role from Lord James Blears, who would redo all the title proclamations in the 90s. Giant Baba would fly Lord James Blears into Japan just to do these big title proclamations. All right, so both men are introduced, and during each streamers are present for both. White and orange for Kojima and yellow for Kawada. And just visually, just like from what I gathered, there seemed to be more streamers for Kawada, Karen, but which is weird because, as we'll talk about, I do think vocally the fans seem to be super, super behind Kojima.
I think the thing is that, with the streak that Kawada was on, and everybody knew that Kojima was coming off of, even though he did that 7-match series, as you put it, all the matches that mattered prior to it, those were the ones where he wasn't able to, get the act together and be able to pull off the big wins. So maybe it wasn't necessarily that they were afraid to throw the streamers for Kojima, but they weren't necessarily 100% sold this was going to be his day. But I think Tenzan showing up at ringside was probably a little bit of a tell from the get-go.
Not necessarily, because
you don't think so?
But Kawada had defeated Tenzan earlier, as
okay.
in December of the previous year, right? So
yeah, my question for you is, when Kojima left to go to All Japan, I think I remember it when they were talking about their history on something that was related to New Japan. Was Tenzan sent him off on his way when he left, right? Like there was this whole thing about Kojima leaving. Like he didn't just vanish one day. Like they had a final match.
I don't think so, because this happened basically he shows up in All Japan in January 2002, and I at that time the traditional time of contract renewals is January. It's they're all 1 year. Insane as it sounds, they're all 1 year contracts at the time. Everyone
relatable.
Everyone has to renew. In Japanese New Japan Pro Wrestling, you had to renew every year.
Yeah.
Unless you're someone's such a top level, if you're fucking Ricky Choshu, probably not.
Yeah.
If you're a mid card dude, didn't matter who you were, you had to had to be announced that the company still wanted you after for that.
Yeah.
So
it was the same thing with the JET program. Every spring they gave us our contract. They're like, your contract's good for up to 5 years, but you have to sign your renewal. And I'm like, where am I gonna go? Really?
Well, here's the thing. I'll tell people like I miss living in Japan. I don't miss working in Japan.
I don't miss the paperwork.
I
really don't.
I don't miss the bullshit with the bureaucracy of like
lots of red tape
and city hall and immigration office. Anyways,
but yeah, my thing about mentioning Tenzan was that they were tagged. Were they tagged champions prior to his leaving All Japan, or did all of that happen once he came?
I think they're not champions at the time, but they're still Tenkoji.
Okay, they were
part of. I think because NWO Japan, they were part of that with Tono and Muto.
Got it.
And then that morphed into Team 2000.
Okay.
And then that's what so he's leaving Team 2000. He's leaving Tenzan to go join. I don't think it was something that maybe a lot of people knew about. Like I would assume Tenzan, because they're legit good friends.
Yeah.
Probably knew, and I would assume like in real life Tenzan like, yeah, I wish you'd stay, but like I understand because I'm sticking around because like Chono's sticking around. Like Tenzan wasn't going to leave because Chono's his mentor, right? And Chono was sticking around. So
the reason I asked was that when we eventually get to the backstage comments and the in-ring promo that Tenzan cuts on Kojima, it just seems like there's, I don't know, we'll get to it, but I was just like that their connection as as longtime friends and tag team partners, I just wanted to know how this all placed in that whole scheme of things.
I don't know the exact details of him leaving New Japan.
Got it.
I just remember it was surprising to see him show up. So
okay,
if anyone's out there, like leave it in the comments.
Apology for completely derailing the entire conversation.
Not at all. These are great points that I'm sure a lot of fans or listeners are asking too. So we'll find out. I'm sure, like in subsequent research, we can look it up ourselves.
Absolutely
after this. But let's go to the match. So. Our referee is legendary All Japan referee Kyo Wada. There's a big Kojima call from the crowd already. Excuse me. They lock up and they're jockeying for position right from the start. Kojima gets Kawada up on the ropes and gives a couple of cheeky slaps to the chest that, Kawada literally just brushes off. He's like, is that all? Is that all you got right now? There's some wrestling on the ground until Kojima backs Kawada into corner and unleashes these chops and slaps that do nothing but piss off Kawada, who retaliates with his own chops. There's a nice stiff chop exchange that follows that, and Kawada knocks down Kojima with a nice stiff elbow to the face. Kawada chops Kojima down with kicks to the leg and goes for a leg lock. There's some more groundwork with Kojima going for a heel hook, but Kawada decides to put one on himself, and Kojima quickly gets out of that by going for the ropes. It was funny because Kojima's trying to go for this heel hook, and then Kawada's like, "No, that's not doing anything really. You're not, because it's not his forte.
Yeah,
like doing any kind of submission or MMA work. But Kawada has kind of a background, somewhat in that, and he's like just grabs his heel and twisting in the heel hook, and it's like Kojima's like, "Yeah, I'm getting out of this. I gotta get to the rope." So yeah, it's a kind of a pretty even match. I do think Kawada's still kind of dominant early on in this match, which is kind of a theme that will play out through actually most of this match. But what are your thoughts so far on this, Karen?
Well, the thing is that for me, I didn't watch wrestling when I was in Japan, but I know that when you sent me this match, just watching the opening sequence and the entrances and everything else, that I would have very much been a Satoshi Kojima girl had I watched wrestling back then, because I love an underdog story. So knowing, learning that he had, he had a hot streak and then it collapsed, and then he's just trying to claw his way back. I love seeing someone trying to beat the one person they can't beat. So for me, it was like, I didn't have streamers for Koji, but you know what? I was in his corner the entire time, and seeing that how, not that Kawada was underestimating him, but he was just like playing the senpai card and being like, all right, come on. Give me more. Show me what you have. Show me that you want this bad enough.
Right. It is
make it interesting for me.
There is this kind of psychology on Kawada's part of like trying to bring out the fire in Kojima in this match. So there's another strike exchange that Kawada wins with a nice looking back heel kick to the face. There's a Kawada control segment with Kawada focusing on punishing Kojima's back with like I don't know exact move of this. I call it a standing surfboard. That's what I call it.
I call it a surfboard too.
Yeah, basically you grab your opponent's arms, you're behind them, you just kind of stretch their arms back as much as possible. I think it's probably to set up, weakening Kojima's back for Kawada's folding powerbomb finish. Kojima tries valiantly to get out of this hold and gets the fans on his side at the time. So he's struggling. He cannot get out of this hold for the most part. He's stuck in this move for like, I'd say 3-4 minutes. But the great thing is his struggle is so compelling. The fans are just on his side. They're chanting his name, and they're like when he finally reverses it, the fans cheer. But the funny thing is, I think it's funny. Like Kawada just is so close to the ropes, just Kawada puts his foot on the ropes, and he doesn't have to struggle to get out of this move. It's some really great stuff from like the way the match is laid out and like Kojima's facial expressions. Just really draw the fans in.
Yeah. It really gave me, and this is completely two different pro wrestling worlds, but it reminded me of seeing Brian, or in WWE, Daniel Bryan struggling to try to finally become the champion, like trying to fight the one person he can't beat. So it's like the more that Kojima struggled, the more he was in peril, and the more he was like, doing everything he can, and he just like sometimes it just took him a little longer to claw his way out of things. I think the way he emoted and showed all that in the ring really resonated with all the fans, both in the venues and at home.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's such a likable wrestler.
Yes. Like, I don't trust anyone who doesn't like Satoshi Kojima. Let's be honest.
Like he just has a likable persona that comes through in his interviews and in his wrestling. So like whenever they try to make him a heel, I've always like that's dumb.
That's not him.
It's not a very good heel, no.
No.
Kojima sets off another volley of strikes, but Kawada slaps him in the face, body slams him, and starts beating the shit out of him on the ground with stiff kicks. I love when Kawada does this to anyone, but this is great stuff. Kawada goes to his wheelhouse with stiff kicks to the chest. There's another Kawada control segment with chops, elbows, kicks, and Kojima is like really in big trouble in this match. This is pretty much all Kawada's match so far, Karen.
It's one of those things where it adds to the story, because some people come into that match expecting it to be a squash. That it's just going to be it's going to be the match that, carves him into the history of being the man. But then just because that's what's at stake, he has more to lose. So the more dominant he looked in the first half, the more satisfying things became in the second half when Kojima started gaining more traction on him.
Definitely. Kojima does rally back with his own chops and elbows and goes for the Ichazo Bakayaro elbow, but doesn't actually go for the top rope elbow.
He doesn't.
Instead, he just elbow drops him normally. And I think this plays into like what you were saying about like Kawada's comments about like, oh, your stupid catchphrase is going to win matches. And I think probably this got into Kojima's head.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I think also it's like it plays into this idea that Kawada has gotten into his head. And so if I go to the top rope, he's going to recover. He's going to stop me from.
He's going to have extra time to get one on me.
So he's finally gotten the advantage over Kawada at this point in the match, and he doesn't want to lose it. So I just think this is really, really great, stuff that we're seeing here. Just like really smart storytelling in this match.
Yeah.
Kojima does go to the apron, I think, to set up a top rope move. But Kawada recovers, kicks him off the apron, and crashes him into the barricade outside. Kojima gets back up on the apron, but Kawada kicks him off again. Kawada proceeds to beat the shit out of him some more outside. And this includes powerbombing him onto the thin blue mats on the arena floor. And I just said, ouch. That does not... Listen, taking a Kawada powerbomb in the ring is bad enough, like on the mat. But on these blue mats, which don't have much give, there's no give. And they don't really give you that much cushion either. And
no.
That was a pretty stiff-looking powerbomb as well. So, like, I just felt bad for you.
I remember seeing that powerbomb, and I was sitting in the dealership waiting for my car, and I just reached back on my back. I was like, oh, I felt that through my chest and in my soul. And I was like, I don't want to see that again. I don't want to feel that way.
But you know who probably also felt it was the crowd,
Coach,
because they just bust out the Kojima call
yeah,
yet again. They're really behind like Kojima surviving this onslaught from Kawada and being able to have a fighting chance at winning the Triple Crown here. So they go back in the ring, and Kawada unleashes stiff kicks to the back and goes for a single leg Boston Crab, again focusing his attack on Kojima's back. Kojima tries to rally back again with elbows, but Kawada cuts him off with his own elbows. Kawada kicks to the face, followed up with a running kick to the face, and then a stiff lariat for a 2 count on Kojima. Kawada immediately goes for the seated stretch plum that he then transitions into a weird variation of what looks like Tenzan's Anaconda Vice move, Karen. And I was just like, what's he doing? I've never seen him do this move before.
It was one of those things where it was I always get a kick out of seeing wrestlers do their opponent's moves, but there's something a little that has an extra little bit of salt to it when you use your opponent's tag team partner's move on them. Like it just feels like he was just like trying to grind him down and find any possible way that could just further break Kojima's, like, not just his body but break his spirit, because he'd already gotten into his head and he's just trying to do anything to do, again, having the most to lose, trying to do anything to stop his momentum. And I think the dirtier that he got and the grittier he got with Kojima, the more the audience rallied behind Kojima, because they're just like, they just wanted more than anything for this, not the torture to stop, but also to be like, this could be the moment, because he's pushing him so hard that this could be the moment that they see history change.
Yeah, I mean, also I think it's a big F you to Tenzan, who's in the audience.
Yeah,
as well.
who he had recently beat.
He recently beat too as well. Kojima again fights back with his own elbows to the face and rocks Kawada with a rolling elbow, trademark Misaharu Misawa, and follows up with a Koji cutter. Kojima has finally gotten control of the match and hits the Tiger Driver for 2 count. And I now, like, so to me, it's like, okay, Kojima's thinking is, I can't beat him with my own moves, so I'm gonna start borrowing the moves of the guy who has basically beaten Kawada every time in the 90s. So that's why he used the rolling elbow. That's why he used the Tiger Driver. I do think that rolling elbow is part of Kojima's regular repertoire as well, but this one looked like kind of Misawa-esque, as it were.
So the Tiger Driver he uses, that is there any other Tiger Driver than the 91 and the other one, that the general one, or is this just like,
So this is the regular Tiger Driver that he uses.
Okay.
Kawada lands on his back. There's the 91, which drops you on your head.
On your head. Okay.
No, but Misawa does have variations of the Tiger Suplex.
Okay.
That he uses that is pretty dangerous.
I want to meet these tigers that do suplexes and all these drivers, because as far as I know, I've never seen it in the animal kingdom.
Well, I mean, it's because Misawa used to be the second incarnation of Tiger Mask after.
Aha! Thank you for that.
Because Baba had bought the rights for the Tiger Mask gimmick from the anime company that created the character. So a lot of Misawa's moves are named after tigers, because he was Tiger Mask, the second incarnation. The third incarnation of Tiger Mask was Koichi Kanemoto, right?
I did not know that, but thank you. I know who the fourth one is.
Yes, he's the current one. This guy has been the Tiger Mask the longest.
Your favorite, the grumpy one.
A lot of people don't like him. I don't know. He's fine. He's a perfectly good pro wrestler who does pro wrestling. So that's all that's fine. But yeah, so that's why people wondering, why does Misawa name a lot of his moves with Tiger something? It's because he used to be Tiger Mask. Anyways, Kojima tries for German suplex, but Kawada counters with a Pele kick enziguri that rocks Kojima. Beautiful. Like, even at this point in his career, Kawada still can bust out these like incredibly graceful looking, like just athletically impressive, like jumping kicks, Karen.
Because this will feed into the backstage comment part at the end. How old were Kojima and Kawada in this match? Was there a big age differential between the two of them?
Yeah, it is, because like I can't remember exactly how old either of them are. But think about this: like Kawada is of the same generation as the Three Musketeers. So Kawada, Misawa, Taue, and Misawa, they're like the generation that's peer level with Muto, Masahiro Chono and Shinya Hashimoto.
Okay.
And Kojima is the so they're the second generation, right? The Three Musketeers are the second generation, and Kojima is part of the third generation.
That third generation. Okay.
Nagata, Nakanishi, Tenzan himself.
Yeah.
That's the generation he's part of. So like,
got it.
He would be like, this is akin to him fighting Kishimoto. You know, this is akin to him fighting Shinya Hashimoto. Like, that's of that generation. He's fighting the generation that came and paved, you know, the business in the 90s
for him.
For him, to kind of him and Tenzan to inherit in the 2000s. So I don't know the exact age difference. I'm gonna say maybe it's like, I'm gonna say, you know, between 5 to 10. Maybe.
Okay.
Like, I apologize. People can look this up. It's called Wikipedia. And
well, the thing is, I looked at Wikipedia and I couldn't do the math.
Kojima's like early 30s, I think. At this point. Right. How old is he now?
He's 51.
Okay. So this is 2022 and this is 2005. So just subtract about 20 years. So he's in his 30s, right?
Okay.
Around there.
That works. Around 30s works for me.
I think Kawada's probably in his like 40s.
40s? Okay.
Yeah. Like early or mid 40s.
So the age gap for me, someone who's only been into Japanese wrestling for about 5 or 6 years, it's kind of the age gap between Tanahashi and Okada. About 10 years, but somewhere in that 10-year range.
It's more like akin to like the age gap between Nagata and Tanahashi.
Okay.
If that makes sense as well.
Yeah, which is an 8 or 9 year gap.
Right. So it's a generation gap, like in terms of like, you know, kayfabe pro wrestling generations.
Yeah.
It is generation gap. It's like the equivalent to Kojima in All Japan at the time would have been Jun Akiyama.
Okay.
Right? So Jun Akiyama is of the generation that's similar to Tenzan, Kojima, and Nakanishi and Nagata. Okay. So that's why why Jun Akiyama and Yuji Nagata are actually legit good friends in real life.
Got it.
And copy each other's moves a lot, like with the Explorer suplexes and things like that. Anyways, deviate, but that's, you know, there's all this stuff. But he's like Kojima, Kawada is just busting out all the flying kick moves that he was so famous for popularizing in the 90s, and this one in particular, the Pele kick, like kicking backwards and hitting an enziguri, incredible. I love Kawada. Kawada hits a backdrop driver for a 2 count. Kawada hits a lariat that Kojima absorbs. He goes for another one, but Kojima lariats his arm and then hits a brainbuster and then goes for another brainbuster. And at this point, Kojima rips off his elbow pad to signal that he smells blood in the water, and he's signaling for his lariat. And as he comes off the ropes, Kawada hits a kick to the face and then an enziguri, but Kojima no-sells this and hits a short-range lariat, and then Kawada gets up and hits a running kick to the face, and then both men double lariat each other, and Kojima finally knocks down Kawada with the lariat, but it has exhausted him as well, so he can't cover Kawada right away. And Karen, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like true, you know, Royal Road, King's Road, All Japan style that we have just witnessed in this, like, I don't know, 3-minute stretch here.
It was one of those things that I was kicking myself for watching this match in public because I got very excited and I was trying to like keep everything inside because I wanted to, you know, I was trying to cheer with my heart, but it was like, it was coming out of my mouth as I was trying to, you know, mind my own business.
Right.
But man, this sequence, I was like, it's happening. It's happening. Let's go. And then he couldn't cover. And I was like, no. I got very drawn into this match, especially after this started happening.
There's a big Kojima call because everyone else in Yoyogi Gymnasium is with you there, Karen, and Kojima covers, but Kawada had enough time to recover, kicks out of this. Kojima changes his strategy and goes for his own arm submission, which I don't know, it looks really weird. It looks like an inverted Kimura mixed with an arm scissors. I don't know the name of this move, Karen, but quite honestly, I think it looks kind of like shit to me. So I was like, okay.
I don't want to say it like the money clip, but it just looked like it was overthought. Like it looked like it had too much going on to it.
Yeah, it's a very busy move. It looks kind of shit. Kawada reaches the ropes for the break, there's another strike exchange that Kawada quickly loses because even though, Kojima's like submission move looks like shit, he has actually damaged Kawada's shoulder. And there's some great selling from Kawada here. Kojima hits the cozy, what do I call it? The cozy crusher dynamite.
Yeah.
The CCD.
CCD.
Which, again, I say not coincidentally, looks like Misawa's Emerald Flosion move. And he's thinking again, okay, I got to use Misawa move to finish him off. No. Kawada kicks out of that at 2, and Kojima immediately goes for shit armbar that actually works. That's what I'm calling it now, Karen. This is I hope he busts this out in Pro Signola so I can say, I can't believe he beat like Takashi Sugiura with shit armbar that actually works. Anyways, Kawada calls start happening as well here and are met with Kojima calls. So it's like a dueling chance here in Yogi National Gym 2. Kojima senses he has Kawada's number and hits the ropes for his lariat. But Kawada hits his jumping Gamengiri and rocks Kojima. Kawada goes for a running PK kick to Kojima's face. But thankfully for Kojima's face, he ducks. But Kawada recovers enough to kick him in the back instead. Still, I'd rather take a kick to the back than a PK kick to the face from Toshiaki Kawada.
Agreed.
Enziguri, backdrop driver, and folding powerbomb. But my God, Karen, Kojima kicks out of one of Toshiaki Kawada's signature finishers. Incredible.
It's happening.
Elbow strike exchange, and then Kawada goes for his jumping high kick, but Kojima blocks it with his arms. Kojima hits the ropes, but Kawada kicks his arms, but Kojima hits a lariat anyways, and both men are down, and this crowd is electric. They are on fire for this match, Karen. It's great. It's just amazing atmosphere in this building. This is one of those matches where I kind of wish I was there because it would have been awesome.
Absolutely.
Kojima does go for a cover, but only gets a 2. Kojima hits another lariat, but Kawada kicks out at 1 and wants Kojima to try again. This is the point where he's like, come on, I think like my headcanon, my theory is that Kawada knows he's done, but he wants Kojima to finish him off decisively. He doesn't want to be like, no roll-ups, no fluke pins, nothing like that. He kicks out. He wants Kojima to hit him with everything he has and to fire him up so he can confidently pass the torch to him.
Yeah.
By the end of this match. So, he challenges Kojima to try again. There's lariat to the back of Kawada's head, followed by one to the neck, but Kawada again kicks out at 2. Amazing. And as the crowd chants Kojima's name, he charges out of the corner and hits Kawada with a signature running lariat and pins him 1, 2, 3 to win the Triple Crown, Karen, in 27 minutes and 4 seconds of what is a very, very excellent match for the Triple Crown. It's the passing of the torch. And one thing I love maybe more than the match itself, I love the post-match because Kawada, slaps him on the back. He's down. They're both exhausted. These guys.
Yeah.
Kawada goes over to Kojima, slaps him on the back, pulls him up by his hair, and referee Kyo Iwata's like, let go his hair, like, because almost like he's gonna attack him or something.
Yeah.
But it's not it. Kojima gets up. He goes over to whoever's holding the Triple Crown, but the 3 title belts. He grabs them and he gives them to Kojima and hugs him and congratulates him. He then symbolically puts on one of the belts, and this is important to know, Karen. The belt he puts on, he tries to strap around Kojima's waist, is the PWF World Title, which is the signature belt of the Triple Crown. The other 2 belts are the NWA International Title and the United National Title, but the PWF World Title is the signature piece. It's the belt that the current Triple Crown Championship belt is modeled after.
I see.
So that's why it's really symbolic that he's putting that particular belt around Kojima's waist, not the United National or the International title. So, Kojima looks legit emotional and he's crying. You know, I believe probably finally overcoming Kawada, but also finally becoming a world champion. And not just a world champion, Sharon. He's become the world champion, the top guy in the company he chose over the promotion that he started with in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is his new home, and he's now the keeper of it, right? So I think just amazing stuff here between Kawada and Kojima. But it's not the end of the post match, Karen, because then he gets into the ring. But the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Hiroyoshi Tenzan, and he says some words for Kojima. What does he say? If you don't mind letting us know.
All right. So the great thing about, you can tell the friendship that they have purely based on the casual nature in which Tenzan addresses Kojima. He calls him Koji. It's as if no time has passed. No company. They've Koji made his choice. He went to All Japan, and he basically says, "Hey Koji, you finally did it. You managed to become a champion. Congrats. But you know what? I'm planning on taking that triple crown and put it around my waist in a few days. And how about you and I give everything we have and leave nothing left in the tanks once we're done? But just so you know, there's no way that the IWGP is going to lose to the Triple Crown. You better go prepare yourself."
Wow. And he's saying this on an All Japan show.
And the booze.
The booze. Yes. Massive booze for Tenzan here. And then that's, yes, they're going to fight. We're going to talk about that as well a little bit. But we go backstage, and there's some comments from Kawada and Kojima. So, and Karen was kind enough to do some translating for us. What did Kawada have to say about this match?
It was so, yeah. So he starts out with saying, "Today we toast Kojima. The biggest thing I wanted Kojima to understand is his thinking that losing can be moving, which I still find a little bit strange. But I wanted more than anything else for Kojima to understand my true feelings and my intentions, and how frustration can really work. I am frustrated that my streak is now broken, but I'm glad it was Kojima. Currently, there isn't anyone in this company that is on his level. I wish him the best of luck as the new champion. I still have plenty of gas in the tank, and I don't mean to lose, so I'm going to keep going, and I hope you'll support me."
Yeah, it sounds like a sheet, to be quite honest, because outside of Kojima, there's really not much in terms of prospects. Like Suwama's still a rookie at this point. It won't be until later Suwama kind of elevates himself to a level to be on Kojima's level in the company and such. But yeah, there's not much going on. It's a fun. I actually do love all early 90s All Japan. It's a very fun company to watch. But outside of Kojima, it's there's not much going on there. But anyways, what did Kojima have to say?
Afterwards, Kojima said that the happiest moment of the match was Kawada shaking his hand and acknowledging that he's passing the torch and that he's the next champion. However, he said he never became a wrestler to seek someone else's approval, but he would be remiss if he didn't admit how happy he was in this very moment. And this is why I asked about the age part, the age differential, because he keeps stressing in the promo, "I've been working in this business for 15 years. I'm young, but I don't want to talk about age. I want to talk about my career length. And I'm and at this point in 15 years, I am the happiest I've ever been with my pro wrestling life. I've been a lifelong fan of pro wrestling," because somebody asked him a question about how long he's been a fan. "And I've been a wrestling fan ever since I was a child. Even when I was in elementary school, I said, one day I want to grow up to be a pro wrestler." And through this match, he was able to what he feels he truly achieved his childhood dream of becoming a professional wrestler.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he not start off in Animal Hamaguchi's dojo? One of those
I think he might have been. I'm not very kuashi in the Koji. I'm not very up to date in all of the origin stories of one of my favorite bread dads, but I would let's. Do we have time to check the Wikipedia? Let's see.
I'm thinking Google search Animal Hamaguchi.
Professional career. He entered the New Japan Pro Wrestling Dojo in 1991. I'm not seeing anything prior to that.
It's on his Wikipedia. He was trained by Animal Hamaguchi.
That was the one menu I hadn't opened yet. Dang it!
But
it doesn't say what years he went. It just says early life. But he also has a background in judo.
Yeah, you got to start loading trucks for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and after some months of persuasion, finally convinced head trainer Animal Hamaguchi to accept him into the dojo.
Would that be the New Japan dojo?
I assume. I mean, basically, I think
because the next section opens with Kojima entered the New Japan dojo in February 1991.
Yeah, so I think like that's probably. Correct me, hey, anyone out there, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I think Hannibal Hamaguchi was the head trainer.
The trainer at the time.
And then he left to start his own dojo, and that's where like
okay,
Shingo Takagi, trains. Before he enters the Dragon Gate dojo, he's trained by Hannibal Hamaguchi. This is, I think, the time that's the time like Hamaguchi is like basically fuck it, I don't want to work for New Japan anymore. I'll do my own shit. So.
Yeah, I didn't know when Hamaguchi started his gym, so I didn't know if the gym Kojima was trying to get into was Hamaguchi's gym or into the dojo, his dojo or the New Japan dojo.
So basically, it says here he started like by basically being the ring crew, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume he considers that part of his overall career.
He worked his way up from the bottom, literally.
Yeah. There's and anything else from what Kojima had to say here?
That's all that he had to say. When it came to his response to Tenzan, when Tenzan said, "You better go prepare yourself," Kojima basically said, "There's no effing way I'm going to lose to you," but in a very diplomatic way of saying it. So, and then they had their match shortly thereafter, if I'm not mistaken.
So, one final note about this backstage presser, like it's a really nice show of symbolism. Not only like in the ring when Kawada puts the PWF World Title around Kojima's waist, but in the back, one of the person toasting Kojima is Masafuchi, who, along with Kawada, is the only native wrestler to stay with All Japan Pro Wrestling following the Mitsuharu Misawa Noah exodus from the company in 2000. So for him to be basically accepting Kojima as the new ace of All Japan is a really nice show of symbolism for the company. So like I thought that was a really nice touch here. But let's talk about Kojima's follow-up to this Triple Crown win. So he does win the Triple Crown from Kawada on February 16th. He then would go on to defeat Tenzan 4 days later on February 20th at Sumo Hall, Rigoku Kokugikan.
Well done.
I've had a lot of practice. On July, and then this title reign that he has is actually a pretty cool title reign. He does have he has quite a few great wins here. July 26th he defeats Keishimuto. September 1st he defeats Jamal. October 18th he defeats Giant Bernard. November 19th he defeats Kensuke Sasaki. Heading into 2006 he defeats Taru. On January 8th, March 10th he defeats the Great Muta. June 10th he defeats Suwama before finally losing the Triple Crown to Taiyo Kea on July 3rd. So how many wins is that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. So 7 successful defenses. I don't think they're gonna like break Kawada's 10 match winning streak with the Triple Crown with Kojima here. But there you go. He loses it to Taiyo Kea. He would win the Triple Crown once more for a second time down the line, but it's neither here nor there. As far as his IWGP heavyweight title reign, it only has, I suppose, it's a successful title defense. He goes to a timely draw on March 26th with Shinsuke Nakamura, and then he does lose the title back to Tenzan at the Tokyo Dome on May 14th. This is when like New Japan had this crazy idea: let's run the Tokyo Dome like more than once a year. Oh, I wonder. When did they do that again? Oh, recently, this past year or so. To bad effects. What? I'm on an All Japan Pro, podcast. I can slander New Japan Pro Wrestling. I slander them anyways. I don't care. Anyways, yeah, wonder what's similar. Oh yeah, bad business decisions and bad booking. Both times they've done that. Anyways, that brings us to the end of my notes actually for this. I would say if I was going to give this match a rating, I would say it's a 4.5 for me. I don't think it hits the 5, it's a very, very good match. I recommend people watch it, especially if you're a Kojima fan. It's, I think, one of his best matches of his career. The thing is like Kawada's not at his peak. He's basically winding down at this point. He's still got several years left in the tank, but it's not. If it was like 1998, 1997 Toshiaki Kawada versus like 2005 Kojima, holy cow! I think probably would have gotten five stars on that, but it's okay. But hey, Kawada, holy shit, he brings it. He brings it to Kojima, and he does not make it easy for Kojima to win the title.
Not at all.
It's a great performance from Kawada as well. Any final thoughts from you about this match, Karen?
Before we go, can I talk about Kojima's post-match promo in the ring?
Sure, of course.
It's really short, it's really sweet, and basically what he says is to everyone, thank you so much. And he the first thing he says after that is, I'm so thankful to have met a wrestler like Kawada. And I don't know if that's because Kawada pushed him harder or because Kawada believed in him. Could have been half a column A, half a column B. But he says, like, he's like, I know I just became your champion, but I hope for your continued support in the future. And that's like, it's the most Japanese thing to say because there's a good old Yoroshiku Onegai Shimasu in there. But knowing how humble and polite that Kojima is, he being a young hotshot, even with a 15-year-old career, he could have been like, walking on cloud 9 and shooting his mouth off, but he was nothing but graceful and diplomatic in the win, even though he knew that this was the opportunity for him to become a megastar in the company.
I would, if someone told me that, like, growing up, he actually liked watching maybe All Japan a bit more, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. Like, a lot of his offense is very similar to Kenta Kobashi with the chops and the lariats. There's a lot of similarities you could draw, like, But they could also say, oh, he's actually more like Kensuke Sasaki, which if someone said that, I wouldn't argue with that either.
Yeah.
But I can imagine like it was a big deal for him to leave the comfort of New Japan Pro Wrestling to go to All Japan with Muto, and that kind of maybe get the approval of like Kawada was very important for him, and maybe it raised his game. Like I'll be honest with you, like when he was in New Japan at that time before in the 90s, I saw something in him, but not enough where I thought he would become a top level main event world champion guy. I didn't even think that of Tenzan at the time either. Like I thought it's going to be Nagata. Nagata's going to be ruling the mountain on his own. Like Nakanishi was always shit. So, so I never thought Nakanishi was going to be a guy either. But I always thought Nagata was going to be somebody. But like Tenzan Kojima, I thought there's potential, but I didn't see it at the time. It's not until he gets to All Japan, really. Like it's like, okay, this is it. And then he accomplishes the feat of being, I think at that time, the third person to win both the IWGP and the Triple Crown. But he did it. So the first was Tenryu, but he did Triple Crown, then IWGP. Then it's Muto who did IWGP, then Triple Crown. Then it was Kojima, who is not a native-born All Japan guy, but he won Triple Crown first, and then he won the IWGP, and then who I think it was Takayama after him. Compare like Kensuke later. Kensuke would be later. He doesn't win the Triple Crown until after he wins the IWGP. But Kojima is part of that rarefied group of the Grand Slam, as you mentioned before, which is not only the Triple Crown and the IWGP, but also the GHC heavyweight title. So it's him, it's Muto, it's Takayama, and it's Kensuke. It's rarefied. It's only 4 people in the history of wrestling, and I hope it stays rarefied. I don't want
absolutely
to get a chance at winning. Like I don't want that many. I don't think you're going to see too many people winning the Triple Crown now.
Yeah,
the IWGP, being a double kind of part of the double champion kind of thing, and
absolutely
Japanese wrestling. The Grand Slam, I can't imagine that happening ever again.
Yeah,
or at least not. I won't say ever again, but like anytime soon. So
they've probably Grand Slammed the door shut for the time being.
Until like something like the 2000s happens. Again. Yeah, or like Japanese turns back into like the early 2000s, which is just a free for all.
You're not ready for that Kazuchika Okada Noah run.
I don't think he's ready for that because I don't think he would want to go there unless he
maybe Tanahashi.
Tanahashi, I can see it. Tanahashi, I could see like if he wanted to leave.
I mean, he won't because he's a company man, but
he won't. But like if he did, he like I'm surprised they never. I'm honestly when he was like kind of jumping around places, like not jumping around, but like being able to work other places. Like I'm surprised, like maybe there was a thought that he could do like a short run with the Triple Crown in All Japan at the time. Put over Suwama for the belt. I don't know. Like
I'm still waiting for that match with Jake Lee and Tanahashi. Let's be honest, that singles match, not the Kanreki Sai at Korakuen Hall 60th anniversary. I want a 1-on-1 singles match.
Well, the rumors are. Is there any validation to the rumors out there about Jake Lee? Maybe we'll see it, but it won't. It will be under a New Japan banner, which is neither here nor there. But Darren, thank you very much for coming on.
Of course.
To do the long and winding road, even though it's not your wheelhouse, so to speak. But I hope you
absolutely not.
You take a chance to kind of go explore previous episodes and check out the matches we've talked about previously on this show. And but Karen, like I said earlier, Karen's very busy person. What have you been up to? Tell us some things people can go search out of your work.
You can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Hey Karen Sensei. I do a lot of coverage over at postwrestling.com covering Stardom, including this weekend's 5-star Grand Prix. I have to finish watching day 2, or I just finished watching day 2. I just got to finish my report now. I will also be doing G1 coverage on the Post Wrestling Cafe. I'm actually recording with John later tonight, and then I'm doing one more weekend wrap up on the 14th. And then, if you happen to come across an October 2022 issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, you can find my interview with Hiroshi Tanahashi.
That's awesome. Really great work there.
And the August issue will have a Cyber Fight Festival recap with some of the interviews I did with Kojima, Keno. No big deal. Just a couple of people.
What a tie-in to this episode. Upcoming PWI issue, right?
Yep. The November 22 issue will be out in August.
Okay, so keep an eye out for that, everyone. You can find me Post Wrestling on Line Railroad. This show, Post Perez. Sometimes I do with Karen. MCU later. Got She-Hulk coming up. Way's going to be on paternity leave, but from Pro Wrestling Torch, Rich Fan is joining me to do co-hosting, and I think he's going to run the boards. Like I said, Rich, if you can learn how to run the StreamYard gimmick, you run the boards, baby. And you take, basically he's going to take over Way's duties. I'm going to still do whatever I do on that show. And,
so he's the tech guy. You're the voice guy.
No, I mean, he's also the voice guy too, because he's going to watch this. I can't say anything bad about Rich. I know what I want to, because I have so much respect for Rich, but we got that coming. We have She-Hulk coming up. I think Karen's going to be a guest on that show.
I got to keep my streak alive. All the WH Park projects.
Hey, but it's not just like with me. It's like she's doing stuff with Way and John and tons of other people. So many. You just appeared on the Super J Cast with Damon over there.
That was a good time
there. So Karen's all over the place. I'm gonna be like, I don't know. I don't really get invited to go to other places so much. Torch with Rich and maybe some other podcasts coming up. But yeah. Anyways, we're not competing here. We're all friends.
It's not a competition. It's a family.
We're all friends here. But anyways, thank you everyone for listening to the Long and Winding Road. I greatly appreciate everyone's support. Got some pretty cool people maybe coming up in the future before the end of the year. I won't say anything more than that till it actually materializes. But we might even have some. We have some ideas for merchandise coming up. We'll see. I don't know.
More merchandise ideas. I love
it. Don't worry, I'll get some permission first. Anyways, until next time, though, everyone, thank you for supporting the show. Thank you, Karen. And on behalf of Karen, I'm going to say to everyone, talk to you later and goodbye.